of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call of the board members, please.
Sure. Robertson.
Here.
Racine? Racine, are you here?
Here.
There you are. Yulee? Here. Gustinelli?
Here.
Castiglione?
Here.
Budge?
Here.
And DeGood.
Here. Before we start tonight's meeting, I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge that that John Sykes, our township planner, recently experienced the sudden loss of his wife. And on behalf of the Planning Commission, we extend our deepest condolences to him and his family during this difficult time. If we could just take a moment and observe a brief moment of silence in her memory. Thank you. We'll begin the meeting tonight then with public comment. Anybody wishing to make a public comment, please feel free to step up the podium and be heard. State your name and address and whatever you have to say to the Planning Commission. I will acknowledge that we do have 2 public hearings tonight, so if you prefer, you can withhold your comments until those public hearings. That would be for the Sugar Plum Apartments and for the Copper Ridge PUD major amendment. So there'll be public comment periods specific to those 2 projects later on in the meeting. But feel free now to step up and make any general public comment you'd like. Seeing no one rushing up to the podium, imagine everybody's here to make comments about those other projects. So we'll move on to review and approval of the agenda and statement of any conflicts of interest.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
We have a motion by Fudge with support by Augustinelli. Is there any further comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Let's move on to the review of the minutes from our March 25th, 2026 meeting, which I understand was very capably chaired by our vice chair. Thank you, Kara.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Support.
Motion by Fudge, support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes. All right, we move on to correspondence. Steve, I think we do have some correspondence, if you'd like to tell us about it.
Yeah, a couple items on your desk. Some written communication from Karen Hands, Brian and Karen Hands, regarding public comment on the Sugar Plum Apartments special use permit, the public hearing of which is tonight, and some comments from our township engineer, Jennifer Graham, also on Sugar Plum Apartments. So we can go more in depth at that agenda item.
Okay, very good.
Mhm.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Molly, is there any reports from the Township Board?
No town board meeting.
Okay. Planning Commission, Commissioners, any reports from the Zoning Board of Appeals?
No meeting.
No meeting. Parks and Recreation Commission, I actually missed that meeting. It was on Monday. Steve, do you have anything to fill us in on?
Relatively brief meeting, mostly just kind of updating on the projects that are in the 2026 CIP, some initial discussion of some 2027, and then got a little bit of feedback on lighting and signage are the 2 things that are kind of next to go in depth that are scheduled for 2026. So I got a little feedback on that as we seek out contractors or kind of scopes of work for those.
What projects might we see going to construction in the near future?
A couple ones that the bids are out, and I believe they close by the end of the month, are the bathrooms at River East and the associated kind of Phase 3 projects, and then the Commons Accessible Trail. According to our engineer, those bids should be closed by the end of the month, so we should be getting stuff back. And then Silver Lake Pickleball Courts, the pre-construction meeting is tomorrow, actually, for that.
Excellent.
So that one's hopefully getting going soon.
So lots of new stuff going into our parks. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Anything from the Joint Planning Commission?
We're meeting next Wednesday for the first time in 3 months.
Okay. And Steve, anything to report from staff?
Mostly, our report is in writing, just kind of summary of all the reviews, handful of administrative reviews. Being spring, we've gotten a few more, and some other planning activities. One thing, the CIP committee met in the middle of March. We may have updated this at the study session last meeting, but they will probably be meeting again shortly, possibly after the bids come in, so we can get numbers to then, if we need to make any adjustments based on bids as they came back in, adjust based on what the adopted township budget was, and then does anything need to shuffle around. They will meet and then get feedback from any entities that need it, and then forward onto the board to adopt an updated CIP, and then start planning for 2027.
Very good.
It's only April, and we're already thinking about 27. So
It's great to hear. Good planning.
that's what planners do. So.
Well, shall we move on to old business then?
All right.
First item on the agenda then is PD 2026-45, Sugar Plum Apartment Special Use Permit Major Amendment, and we're here for a public hearing today. So Steve, why don't you start us off?
Okay, we'll find the start of this if we need to follow along. So this project we saw introduced at the last or at the first meeting in March. This is an existing apartment complex. There's 172 existing units on the west side of Garfield Road. They have a parcel. Couple parcels where the total density could be bumped up based on the maximum allowed, and they've proposed to add 55 additional units for 227 total. There were a few questions kind of from the first go-around. The applicant did provide some additional information to get towards a closer, more complete application, added a snow storage plan, provide cut sheets for the proposed lighting. There will be another question on that in a second. And provided some extensive details on the both existing and proposed landscaping. And then some details on just like the proposed dumpster enclosures, sidewalks, bike parking. I also did a site visit just to see kind of on the ground some of the conditions to go along with what we had researched and what we received from the applicant. We also had a Teams meeting with the applicant as well, which was very helpful to kind of get the next updates. We also did receive some information. This gets to the two items that are on your desk. So we did have someone submit written comment. They also came into the office. We had a discussion. The current lighting, one of this was pointed out, it's on one of the existing parking areas near one of the existing buildings, so nothing else construction is proposed in that area, but they noted that the lighting, the way it's designed, they're all, they kind of look like, they describe them as lollipops, but where there's not necessarily a shield. So per our own lighting ordinance, it would be needing shield. The fixtures that were provided would be full cutoff and shielded. And there's a question I have to the applicant at some point, but it does appear that, I want to clarify, but that they may actually be updating the entire set of lighting. Is that correct? Correct. Okay, so that will be good. We got the updated cut sheet for that. Also, during the discussion at the introduction, there were some questions on the utilities, kind of being close to both either the existing or the proposed buildings. Like, how does their proposed project affect the utility layout? So we did get some comments from our township engineer. They did have some concerns. They're currently doing the stormwater review, and they are identifying that they're going to need to do an escrow for the utilities. So that's as far as I know, ongoing as part of the engineering review. I'm not sure how that would affect site layout, if at all, but that's part of that ongoing review.
Okay,
All right.
very good.
Otherwise, applicants also here if they have anything to add, or it's the public hearing. So,
Anybody have any questions or thoughts for Steve before we open up the public hearing? Or the applicant, the applicant's here? All right, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anybody who'd like to make a comment regarding this project, please feel free to step up the podium, state your name and address, and have your comments be heard.
I'll lead off, but my wife beat me to it by submitting the letter today. My name is Brian Hands. We own 1056 Hemingway Lane. We back right up to the existing building. I believe the number is 2636. A couple of things that were included in that letter, just for everybody else's notice, basically is the parking lot existing lighting. This is the existing building, nothing to do with the new ones. But they're, lollipops, I got pictures of them. They're a post about 8 feet tall with sodium lights all the way, all directions. Pretty much, I think, but up. You can almost see the inside of the dome is it shines over the wall. And we were in Steve's office the other day, and the plans show a 5-foot retaining wall all the way down Hemingway Lane. It's not quite correct because it's 5 foot in each Hemingway's yard, but as the elevation goes up, and I have a picture of it from today, our corner fence that is listed as a 5-foot retaining wall fence or whatever is right here at my hand. At the corner, right where the dumpster is, right where the light is, past that, it goes right over there. We actually have 4 trees in our yard trying to get that light out of there, and my passed away aunt has, she was the one that planted them, not quite in the right spot. Again, I have pictures of that. So we, in the construction coming up, we would just like the lighting addressed in that area. As I said, there's one light right now. I did look at the lighting plan that Steve showed us the other day. It shows 5 lights, going from one light that's obnoxious and yellow and orange in our windows to 5. Now, they are directional. They are LED. They're also, I think, on there as 12-foot poles. Out of those, looking at the lighting diagram that I can see, it looks like still 2 of those will throw out light towards the Hemingway side. The dumpster is really for that unit. Again, this is not anything new, but if we're going to do something new, maybe we can combine the dumpsters to a more central location on the other side of that parking lot garage instead of, or the kind of carport area, instead of right next to the wall where the lids slam down kind of at all hours of the day when people do take their trash out. Again, I have pictures of that. Our request would be is please just adjust the lighting plan and landscaping to reduce the visual and noise disruption to Hemingway Lane homes due to increased car traffic, headlights, and especially in the wintertime when there's no deciduous leaves out. There's only snow that reflects even more light over that wall. Asking to plant evergreens along that area right there or something for the seasonal light. And the increased car traffic, if there's going to be 5 more buildings on that inside circle, there'll be more headlight overflow into the houses on Hemingway Lane. I think, in addition to my wife's note that you all have, that's our concerns.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brandon White. For about the last 10 years, I've owned 2781 Garfield Road North. It's the property directly to the north of the entrance. I guess my main complaint with the idea of adding more housing up there is, to me, there's been a very clear example that they
Brandon,
can't...
I'm
Can't hear
sorry,
me?
I'm having trouble hearing you. Brian, if I could ask you, please, I appreciate that you guys are having a conversation and resolving it, but thank you.
Is that a little better? Oh, yeah, I
Go ahead,
can hear
Brian.
myself
Brandon,
now.
thank you.
Okay, where do you want me to start, at the beginning or?
If you'd start from the beginning. I
Okay,
think
no problem.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. My name is Brandon White. I'm the owner of 2781 Garfield Road North, which is the property just to the north of the entrance. I'm definitely objectionable to adding more occupants up there because to me, they very clearly displayed that they cannot manage the property with the amount of people they have there now. And what I mean by that is pertaining mostly to through the winter with snow removal and them not taking care of the hill whatsoever. So it is not unusual whatsoever for me to have multiple cars parked in my parking lot throughout the night, sometimes for several days, and I have had to pay my plow guy twice to plow, twice a day, many a times, and it's definitely cost me a lot of money. On top of that, cars have been abandoned there that have ruined my parking lot with fuel leaks and things of that nature. I've had a pretty major issue with garbage, not mostly up to my, near my building, but my property line goes all the way extending to the west up to the top of the hill. I have gone up there. I have children that like to play back there. I have found used needles. I found multiple liquor bottles, things of that nature. I've caught kids smoking pot in my backyard, and it just seems like there's absolutely no respect for a neighbor. So trespassing has definitely been an issue, even to the point where they've made a trail across the side of my property to get up to their homes up there. And I guess kind of the last thing, and I don't know if this is pertinent for this meeting, but hopefully it'll get their attention finally. For years, I've been trying to resolve an issue with the entrance sign being on my property. I've made it very clear that I do not want anything for it other than an acknowledgement that it is my property and it is not going to become theirs, and it's fallen on deaf ears, so I'm really getting tired of having to chase that down. So I do believe that's it. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Mike Moritz. I live at 1100 Hemingway Lane. My comments may be a moot point if I actually knew exactly where I knew the new buildings were proposed. I butt right up to Plum Valley, and so I'm concerned as to exactly what's, is there going to be encroachment upon our residents, our property, and also, despite where it goes, I just want to make sure, I think it was brought up a moment ago, is that of light and noise pollution, because it being so close together, it does get quite noisy over there. And also, where on the property, again, since I don't know exactly where the new buildings are proposed, where on the property would the parking facility be located? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I have to do this, sorry. Hi, I'm Jackie Toms, and I'm the president of the Garfield Condos Homeowners Association. And as you can see, and right, that is on Hemingway Lane. And as you can see, many of our neighbors are here. I don't have that much to add because I think they've done a really good job of all the current concerns that I have heard from our homeowners. There is concern about, in addition to that, there's the traffic the increased traffic on South Airport Road, which I know may not seem like a lot, 55, but it just keeps getting busier and busier. And people are asking, is there something we can do about, can we put up a light somewhere in between? It just keeps getting faster and, heavier. But I really think that my neighbors have said all of that. All of us happen to live right backed up to the apartment complex. And I think the lighting and the noise and the garbage and all of that is a concern, but I won't go over what everybody else has also very effectively said. So I hope you hear our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else who would like to make public comment regarding Sugar Plum Apartments special use permit? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the Planning Commission. Anybody have any thoughts or questions, having heard comments from the public? John?
I guess I think it might be helpful if Steve could comment to the public about where the buildings are proposed to go. That was
We
one
give
of the
a
questions that was
brief-
asked and it hasn't
Sounds
been
good.
answered yet.
Yep. We can give a brief overview. This was submitted by the applicant. So the ones kind of in lighter or in white are the existing ones, and then there's shown a few phases. A maintenance building up at the roadside. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 buildings on this side of the southern part of the site. One closer to Garfield Road is proposed. One in the middle between the 2 parts of the entrance, and then 3 towards the north portion of the site.
Is that 10 buildings total? I'm sorry.
I think it is there's 11. That includes a maintenance building, so 10 buildings with dwelling units in them and a maintenance
Or
building.
55 additional
I think 55
apartments?
additional from what's there currently.
Thank you.
And what is that existing number of units?
It was 172, I believe.
Oh, I see it right here.
Yep. Okay.
And the maximum additional would be 57. I'm just seeing again from the notes on SP3.
Yep. In terms of calculating the maximum density, yes.
And I guess while we're looking at things, I'm not sure if you have an image up or if you could pull one up, but it seems that a number of the commenters were from the same neighborhood that is concerned, and I'm just wondering about the adjacent location of that neighborhood.
Yeah.
If you can just show us on a drawing.
Okay. Okay. I also did a site visit and took some photos
great.
which showed that as well. So we can pull up a couple things. So here is the aerial image showing existing conditions. So a lot of the neighbors are on the south side. Here's the Garfield condos.
And those are all, each one of those represents a single-family home?
I believe so. Yes. They're, yep.
And then what do we have to the north then?
I think is a different. I don't know if it's a different apartment or condo complex to the north.
But we did have some folks from the south. And then the gentleman who commented about I guess he had some concerns about like the sign encroachment and some other issues.
I believe that is, if he can confirm, is that this one? All right. Yep. So he's right here on Garfield, just to the north of the entrance. This is the entrance to the whole
Entrance on
property.
Garfield,
Yep.
and then, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you for,
Just reorienting everybody. Yeah.
any other questions or anything, John, about like just where the buildings are located or any of those other aspects? Or you think we covered it?
I guess I wasn't aware of all the location issues. I didn't pick up on that in reading the minutes from the last couple of meetings. So this is educational.
This is the public hearing. So the intro, yeah, this I think came up after people were notified of the public hearing.
Are there existing buildings that are, some existing buildings that are going to go away and be replaced, or is all the existing ones staying?
I'll let the applicant answer as well.
Yeah, Dave Drews, Northern Michigan Engineering, and I prepared this plan. The buildings that are going to go away, there is, right kind of in this up and left with your cursor, down right there, that's an office rental building, and that's going to be demolished. And then just to the right a little more, it was an old home and garage. Those will be demolished. Those are the current maintenance buildings. Those are the only buildings that are going to go away. By the entrance there, we're planning a new maintenance building. And so once these buildings are demolished, then we can put the new apartment buildings in. And then there's also, besides the new maintenance building at the entrance, there'd be a new office building and recreation center for the residents. If I could touch on and I know that representing the owners of the property, I'm glad to hear we could do something with lighting with dumpsters. That's not a problem. We are, based on my initial conversations with John and Steve, it was our understanding that we had to update all the lighting. And to be honest, when we looked at what was there, it's pretty obsolete. And so the lighting plan that we provided is based on the ordinance, and it anticipates doing all the lighting in the whole development.
Because when I did the site visit, so pretty much all the lighting currently looks like this. Like
Yes.
this is that lollipop design, and the one closer to the southern edge was, I believe, this one. And there's a dumpster right there next to, this is kind of at the southern edge of the property. So I believe this is what was made in the public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and we can definitely work with you and with the neighbors on adjusting landscaping, adjusting dumpster locations. In the scale of things, these are pretty minor, and they can be accomplished, I think, quite easily.
Okay.
Does a township ordinance have updating, at what point does the ordinance force the applicant to update, say, the dumpster enclosure to the current zoning ordinance? 'Cause-
That is a good question. I do believe, at least in this case, even though buildings are proposed in certain parts of the site, and there might be some things that are proportional, like usually landscaping is proportional, or doing an amendment opens up the whole special use permit. So if there's things that are currently out of conformance, like if there's dumpsters outside of an enclosure, they should have to put all of the dumpsters in enclosures. So now would be the time to look at that.
And that's, we had the detail for the enclosure.
Yep.
And we're going to, besides the new enclosures, we're going to enclose all the existing, even though we're not doing any development there.
Can the sign be also moved?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. The owner's rep called me about 6, 8 months ago and said that a neighbor contacted. She wasn't aware. And the sign, yes, right there, she became aware that there was a sign that was over the property line. And I said, in fact, when we did our survey, we mapped that location. We showed there's a little section of it's not really a sign, it's like a feature, kind of a feature to introduce you to it. It's a little short section there. And so I looked at it for her. I says, we're going to be doing work on the entrance. We're improving the entrance. We'll just remove that sign. I don't know that there's enough room. We're trying to get sidewalk in there. I think that is just going to go away, and we would put the sidewalk along the road, and there really isn't any more room, much more than that, at that location. So.
Sign go in the middle, median, often locations will do that.
Yeah, and we never talked about it. I think the existing sign that's there, if she wants to do additional signage, I think that's something we could have a separate conversation on. I think right now we're just going to remove that section that's on the neighbor's property, and we do call for a sidewalk through there. The existing sign we would leave where it's at.
Okay.
Do we have anything in our ordinance that we can require them or make them plow or maintain their hill better so that they don't have trouble with their residents and parking on the other guy's lot?
It'd be probably most likely part of property maintenance, and also as part of the review of this, as they're updating their site layout to make sure they had the snow storage plan to demonstrate that they will at least have enough room, and then property maintenance code could be are they actually maintaining it and following it and not causing issues with any neighboring properties. I think between the two of those, that should be something that can be followed up on.
So we do have some,
There's a property maintenance ordinance, it's not in the zoning ordinance, it's its own ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, property maintenance code.
So we have some teeth that we can.
We do have some teeth on the property maintenance code.
But functionally, in terms of approval, disapproval of the project, it would have no bearing on whether residents in this development are inappropriately parking on a neighboring site. This body has no authority to approve this project or disapprove it or do anything regarding somebody inappropriately parking or inappropriately using a neighbor's property.
As far as I know, that's correct, yeah. The neighbor can make a complaint or make a comment, as they just did.
Or have cars towed, or...
If cars towed, it's their private property. Post
yeah.
signage saying no parking except for customers, yeah.
And what about the trespassing he's having trouble with? Is there, that's part of the project's not getting that, anything done, but could we ask for some kind of a fence, or?
The Plan Commission can go above and beyond, specifically for, I think, landscaping and screening. This might be an appropriate, even if there's not any building there, to head off any potential issues. It might be appropriate to look at that. Applicant did submit an updated landscaping plan. Yep, I think I scrolled down far enough.
If you could actually step
Dave, you
up.
need to Dave,
Dave, if you could step
Sorry, we're
up to the
being
speaker,
recorded,
so you're
yeah.
you need to
recorded.
be at the mic, Dave, if you want to
Thank you.
communicate
Yeah.
so it gets picked up.
I'm sorry, not used to having microphones, so. So we had actually, in the first site plan set we submitted, we had proposed putting privacy fence on that line there, and then it goes and turns and goes north. And so we were looking at it at that time as, you know, the landscape requirements, but they do allow fences, privacy fences. There is quite a bit of privacy fence on the perimeter of this project already. So in our original plan, we were focused on using privacy fence in lieu of landscaping, because it kind of fits what's happening in the neighborhood. In our meeting with you and talking about it, there's more of a focus on adding trees. And I think the one of the issues that I brought up with, if you're on a fairly steep slope, putting landscaping in and trying to maintain it and get it to grow, and maintaining it it's not like it's close to a lawn or anything. It's on the perimeter of the property, so it is harder to maintain. So for that reason, I was looking to do privacy fence. There is, and this one sheet we have significant amount of existing trees on the perimeter already. So what we proposed was adding privacy fence, leaving the trees in the buffer that are there. And that would help some of these, the trespassing issues. And that would be, so it's kind of a waste if you put a privacy fence and then we add more landscaping and there's already trees there. I think finding that middle ground there, adding privacy fence where it's appropriate, adding landscaping where it's appropriate, and recognizing the trespass issue.
Yeah.
So I think that line going
On
there.
this line, pretty much.
Yeah, if you go up to the next sheet, up right there, that's
go.
the whole plan there, and you could see, yeah, and I had installed right there, C-type buffer, area 10, installed 198 lineal feet decorative privacy fence,
Yep. High decorative private fence.
and then
Okay.
wrapping around and then all the way down. That was on our original, and the light green shows the buffer strip, so that plan, we just proposed to do privacy fence in that area.
Okay.
Following our meeting, our team's meeting, we went and we added some landscaping in there, and maybe if we could cut some of that additional landscaping out and put in and keep the privacy fence, if that's what people would rather see, that, we're open to that.
Okay.
Kind of a compromise is we have areas that are going to be totally disturbed to the property line. And so, you need something there. A privacy fence, according to the ordinance, is a alternative. And so, but I could see doing a little of both. If we put the privacy fence in, the newer landscape plan had quite a bit of landscaping that we added. If we could work with you and kind of cut that back, and we could do both.
Yeah. Are you talking about this area as well? This is up with the
Yes,
other
yes.
buildings?
So-
Yeah. Okay.
If and this is the revised plan based on our team's meeting, we weren't putting privacy fence here, we were adding landscaping. And so maybe cutting back on the landscaping and adding the privacy fence is a good middle ground.
Okay. This kind of shows where the fence is right now.
Yes,
Those are
and
the
there's,
X's?
that's a privacy fence that then ends right there.
Okay.
I walked up to it, and it would make sense just to continue that down.
Okay. Sorry, I'm cycling back quickly in, I thought I took one in that direction, but I apparently did not. Okay, but yeah, continuing this and then taking it down along this part and then all the way to the road.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So in our table there, on the newer revised plan, we're just showing the tree counts
Yeah,
and
okay.
species and the mature canopy.
Yeah.
One thing that I would like to, if we could go on one of the plans, we have a focus on that south line for the
Okay.
landscaping.
It's the next
So-
one?
Yes.
It does sound like there's some thoughts on revising the landscape plan, coordinating some fence. Maybe that could be part of the next iteration of the evolution of the plan.
Absolutely.
I don't know that we necessarily can work through all the, sounds like you need to work with staff a little bit more and coordinate that and bring us something.
Yeah, it's a
little bit
big plan,
earlier.
and there's, these are important elements, and there's nothing here that we can't solve and make better.
Molly, did you have something?
Yeah, just on that privacy fence again, are you saying that you would extend that privacy fence out to Garfield Road? In that it would be the northeast corner of the property? You brought up the north line and then brought it south, and then there's another
Then back to the
turn
east.
there, now back to Garfield?
Yes, to the road right away.
And so you would fence all that if you,
Yep. So, and that really is the best place for privacy fence, because there's not much room there to be, in fact, that's the area that we had some black locusts to remove. And trying to put on that slope of the hill, not much room to the property line, there's really, it's kind of impractical to do anything but a privacy fence there.
Okay.
Okay. John?
In addition to tweaking that privacy fence on the north side, which I like what I'm hearing, what are the thoughts about on the south side? It sounds like there was a tent way back when for a 5-foot fence, but according to what I've heard this evening, at least in some places, it's maybe more like 3 feet. Is that being addressed or talked about in any way?
Because that fence or wall is on, I believe it's on the other
Yes.
side of the property line.
So this was the area we talked about. From here and all along here, there's really no landscaping on the Sugar Plum side. And so what John and Steve had suggested, we need to add some landscaping there. So our new plan added it there. But I could see there's areas there where the privacy fence on the neighbors ends, that we could put some additional privacy fence going again towards Garfield. If that's, it's really a preference.
And I guess I'm mindful of the concern about headlights maybe shining over a fence and bothering people in their units. Is there discussion or thought about putting in some, either a berm or some evergreens, such that cars that are driving in the complex, the Sugar Plum complex, their lights won't be disturbing to the neighbors to the south?
Well, clearly that area there is the closest. Those buildings and parking are closest, and there's very little so I show adding, and I got white pines and spruce, but, I think it's, we could expand on this a little bit, because as you go to the east on this line is where the dumpster and the light issue we had. So, I like the idea of maybe combining a little bit of both, because trees can only do so much. So I would suggest that as we work through this, if we got with some of the neighbors that are directly impacted, have them have a say, where would you want some trees here? I don't think that hurts us at all. It's a good thing. And we're gonna be doing something there. I'd rather do something that they have approved than to go do something willy-nilly.
Okay.
And when we first met with them, I think at the introduction, there wasn't as much detail, and there was a lot of areas just kind of labeled as like clear cut. So we wanted to at least get some detail back on, at least plant some back and preserve enough for buffers where they can. they also provided more explanation of kind of the site engineering and topography of it, and actually visiting it. Yeah, there's a pretty steep slope coming straight up from the Garfield Road side. So understand they have some design considerations to work through, but working back so that there's at least some good amount of landscaping and potentially combined with privacy fence. I think this is a more detailed, a better base to work off from for that next step. I think we got it, at least some detail more than we had the first time, so.
So in the report, at the end, there was a potential draft motion about preparing findings of fact. It strikes me that it's too early for that, and we ought to be referring this back
I think we've
staff to
still
work
got
with the
some-
developer
yeah.
and bring it back to us when you're ready to do that.
I think both in terms of some of the comments we've heard and some things that might need to be addressed, and also comment from the township engineer as well.
Yeah, I was
I am
thinking
not
that.
an expert in water and sewer lines and where they are and how that's developed, but commenting that there's needs to be some escrow for that and review of that. Since that especially, the comment and concern was about where they are in relation to buildings, and that to me screams like if there is issue, one or the other has to move.
And it would be inappropriate for.
And we did, I'm sorry,
Yep.
the updated plan, we did move those lines.
Okay.
And what, the existing water and sewer lines have a 20-foot easement.
Okay.
So I created enough room between the buildings and the lines. And really, all I had to do was move the lines over. They're not in yet. It was not a big deal. So right now, the current plan that we have enough room there for the 20-foot easements, just like on the other lines.
Okay.
So we'll need our consulting engineer to say they've reviewed it and they agree that the tweaks that have been made
Yep.
are going to work. So it just kind of adds, John, as you're saying, there's just a list of things that we kind of probably, as opposed to asking Steve to move forward with a finding of fact, some more things that need to be ironed out, and we can probably do that at our next
It'd
meeting.
be wise for me to meet with the engineers, kind of go over these fine points.
Yep.
And get them, because one of the dangers when you go through iterations of plans, you find that people are looking at the old plan, not the new plan. And so you point out, oh, you got the wrong plan. So,
And the only thing that I would add, and I think it might have already been touched on, but that the one dumpster that the neighbors referenced on the south property line, it is particularly close
yes.
to that south line, and if it could be moved in the effort to, you're going to provide enclosures and everything, and more or less meet the average distance away from the adjacent
I
properties that
think
most
it's
of your
a
other.
minor, financially, realistically, to put in the split face block
Yep.
enclosures, you're going to rip out the concrete that's there,
Yep.
and you're going to build it new, so we might as well build it in another location.
Built in the right spot. Great, that's good to hear. Okay. John?
Just, I appreciate your willingness and flexibility in working with the neighbors. I think that's wise, and I'm glad to hear you're doing that. Now, the last other comment or thought I had, I guess, Steve, maybe you could address the question about the traffic on Garfield that Ms. Toms raised, and maybe let her know what the planning commission, it's not really something we have anything to do with.
It's something, so with any application, they would get any permits or reviews from any relevant agencies. In this case, road commission, since there is some work that will be in the right of way with like the sidewalk, but as part of that can also ask for, like, is there any anticipated impact on traffic? There also is the section on traffic impact reports in the township's ordinance. I think it's below the threshold, though, of like how many, like, will 55 units add some traffic? It will, but I think it's like in the several hundreds is our own threshold. But I think it's certainly wise to ask road commission, as you see this coming in, is there any concerns with this particular location? Like they said, do we need some sort of traffic control somewhere in the middle? Because it's 1.25 miles between lights at South Airport and Hammond. So it certainly doesn't hurt to ask, and that might be a good like design consideration to have now.
Are we going to have the Department of Water and Sewer also review and sign off?
They would be one of the agency reviews as well. I think as the engineer is reviewing the utilities, talks with DPW. DPW will ultimately do permits at the end of the process, but I believe the engineer talks with them as they're reviewing it.
Anyone have anything else to add? Anybody like to, John?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Excellent,
Okay.
let's hear it.
I make a motion that we refer this back to staff for further work in conjunction with the developer and the neighbors.
Okay.
Support.
So we have a motion by John Racine, effectively to table, right, John?
Yeah.
And support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. And the motion passes. And so with that, we move on to our next agenda item, which is PD 2026-46, Copper Ridge PUD Major Amendment, 4050 Barnes Road, and we have a public hearing for that as well.
Find where this one starts. We can give a moment to let things clear out, too.
Thank you.
So Copper Ridge PUD, as a reminder, after the introduction at last month's meeting, the proposal is to add a parcel to the planned unit development, considered a major amendment in terms of asking for additional land as part of the PUD. This is at 4050 Barnes Road. The building was the Harbor Light Christian Center, proposed for use as a medical office building. There was otherwise no site layout changes proposed, more just a change of use and adding this parcel to the PUD. They proposed to use the existing building and all the refurbishments would be inside. There were some questions outstanding in terms of the township's GIS data that we looked and actually is still on the map on the page to the left, page 2, shows that there's an additional parcel to the north, and at least that GIS data showed it as not part of the PUD. We did look up, we found the overall site plan from dating all the way back to 2003. It showed the building on there was labeled as Building 9, and it showed that parcel as part of the PUD. And the site plan that was actually submitted with this application also came from the most recent amendment. That Building 09 was now Building 10, and that was one of the main points of that application, was the 4 unbuilt sites. So that was one of the focuses of that application, and it's drawn in there. So it seems one way or another that's part of the PUD, and I'm going to say that our GIS was most likely inaccurate in that sense. So one way or another, that other parcel to the north is already part of the PUD. And they do have a shared parking lot with the Harbor Light Christian Center building. So one sort of just outstanding thing, which is a relatively straightforward, was to actually have a site plan just showing that parcel as proposed as part of the PUD. I think the one that was there just came from the last application, so just adjust that line. We wanted to give that back to the applicant. But otherwise, since there's no site layout changes, there wasn't a lot of additional detail in that sense. But we'll see what we hear at the public hearing, or if there's any other questions.
Anything from the Planning Commission before we open the public hearing? All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for the PUD 2026-46 Copper Ridge PUD Major Amendment. Please feel free to step up to the podium and state your name and address and make your comments heard. All right, seeing no one rushing up to the podium, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the Planning Commission. Is there anyone representing the applicant here tonight?
I believe there is, if you have any
Okay.
questions.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
Annette Grunberg with Mark Hagan Real Estate Professionals at Coldwell Banker, representing both the seller and the buyer. However, I just want to state, yes, you are correct with that north property. It is part of the PUD and the
Yeah.
GIS map, and we'll try and get an updated site plan that
Okay.
outlines
Yeah,
just
it's,
that parcel.
Yeah, it was it Northview 22, Sarah Keever?
Yes.
Yeah, she's worked with us a lot, so if you
Yeah.
can just update that, that's hopefully a pretty quick fix. So.
Okay,
Yep.
sounds
All
good.
right, yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any thoughts or questions from the Planning Commission? Well, if there are none, is there anybody who'd like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion to direct staff to prepare findings of fact for review at the regular planning commission meeting on May 13th, 2026 for application SUP 2000-08-P submitted by Hand Surgery Partners LLC for a special use permit, major amendment of the Copper Ridge planned unit development, subject to the applicant updating the site plan to identify the subject parcel as proposed to be added to the PUD.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Augustinelli with support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes. All right. We are on to our next item of business, PD 2026-47, Veliket Family Residence, MUN rezoning, finding of fact.
Sorry, just a second. Okay, yeah, thank you. Sorry, we'll let it clear out again for a
Sure.
second. Yep. All right. This is the findings of fact for the Veliket proposed rezoning at 3479 Veterans Drive. We've seen this a couple times, and there were seemingly no issues brought up at the public hearing of note. And a lot of the comments are similar to the original couple of staff letters. Probably the biggest difference is starting on page 6 through 8 is the proposed findings of fact based on the 8 factors for consideration of a rezoning map amendment. And so there's our draft findings and recommendation. If there's any further questions, but you've seen this a couple times. So.
I feel like we've pretty thoroughly reviewed this one over the meetings where we've considered it. Any other thoughts or concerns anyone has? Anyone like to make those motions?
Go ahead.
All right. I will make the motion that the findings of fact for application Z-2026-01 submitted by Nels D. Veliket to rezone parcel 05-016-038-00 at 3479 Veterans Drive from its current zoning of the CO Office Commercial District to the MUN Mixed Use Neighborhood District as presented in the Planning Department Report 2026-47 and being made a part of this motion be adopted.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Yuli with support by Racine. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes.
One more motion
One
to
more
go.
motion. I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the Township Board that application Z-2026-01 submitted by Nels D. Veliket to rezone parcel 05-016-038-00 at 3479 Veterans Drive from its current zoning of the CO Office Commercial District to the MUN Mixed Use Neighborhood District be approved.
I'll support.
Motion by Yuli, support by Racine. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify with nay. The motion passes.
Thank you again.
You're all set, Nels. Have a good night.
That kid's attended more planning commissions than most grown adults.
And actually made more comment,
Yeah.
just with Babel, than some of the teenagers who attend our meetings.
Yeah.
Maybe in 20 years, we got another member.
Here we go.
There we go.
And she'll have grown up right down the street. All right, next we have PD 2026-48, Dunn R1 rezoning findings of fact.
All right. Figure find where this starts. Kind of in a similar situation. We've been reviewing these two rezonings on the same timeline. This one is on Northeast Silver Lake Road, south of Silver Pines Road, and on the east side of the road. This is a 29, almost 30 acre parcel proposed for rezoning to R1. Very similar. There were at least a couple comments on this one that we did receive, I think, both at public comment and some written comments. I think there was some comments on, again, traffic on Northeast Silver Lake Road, and some concern about, especially in the written comment that I believe was submitted as part of this one, is concern about like this kind of loss of open field. I guess staff's comments would be, for the road itself, Road Commission would have the jurisdiction. I believe they're already looking at a speed study on that road. I think it was also made a comment at the public comment for that one. This being a proposed rezoning, there's not a current like development application, but like a site condo application would be the most likely to come in. And we've actually fielded some calls, inquiries on that. Someone was asking earlier today on this parcel, so we mentioned that it is going through this process. But that anyone doing that type of development, that would come back to Planning Commission, similar to one over on Bermley that we reviewed in the last couple of years of this site condo application, where the layout is more what we're looking at. And then they lay it out, and then builders can go build the individual single-family homes. So, notably, the subdivision to the north has no curb cuts for roads or driveways onto East Silver Lake roads. Everything faces in, and that would be, if that is something that is still of concern, and maybe the Road Commission would weigh in on that, but that design could certainly be carried over if needed. But all that would be at that point. And kind of in terms of like a loss of open field, I believe staff commented even last time, but it's when we were reviewing the master plan, there was sort of that balance of needing to preserve some open and rural space, but also needing to provide housing somewhere. And in this case, it's bordered on two sides by R1. So that's why the master plan and the future land use map was updated for that reason. And also, being ag does not necessarily guarantee that it's going to be active farmland. Like, you could have 1 acre lots. And here you'd have about half-acre lots. So it's kind of additional or more use of the site as is already possible on that site in the first place. So.
Okay.
But otherwise, again, same thing. Findings starting on, in this case, page 5. It was more concise on this one than the previous letter. Again, on the same 8 factors, and so draft findings and draft motion are available for your consideration.
Any questions or thoughts for Steve? Right, as with the last one, I think we've discussed this one pretty thoroughly. Anyone want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion that the findings of fact for application Z-2026-02 submitted by John W. Dunn to rezone parcel 05-029-014-10 on Northeast Silver Lake Road from its current zoning of A Agriculture District to R1 One Family Residential District as presented in the Planning Department Report 2026-48 and being made part of this motion be adopted.
Support.
Support.
We'll go with Augustinelli. She was first.
Not a problem.
We have a motion by Robertson with support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes. Next motion?
I'll make the motion to recommend to the Township Board that application Z-2026-02 submitted by John W. Dunn to rezone parcel 05-029-014-10 on northeast Silver Lake Road from its current zoning of the A1 Agriculture District to the R1 One-Family Residential District be approved.
Support.
Motion by Robertson, support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes. All right. We are getting through the business tonight.
All right.
Next item on the agenda, item E, PD 2026-49, Marengo 31 Special Use Permit, Major Amendment, and we have a finding of fact.
So we reviewed this at the last couple Plan Commission action meetings. Staff did direct, or Plan Commission directed staff, if I can speak correctly, directed staff to prepare the findings of fact. There has been considerable discussion at the last couple of meetings, which I think has been productive and I think very thought-provoking. I think this has been really good to have because this has involved kind of some interpretation of some of the zoning terms and some of the kind of impact of this proposal. I did prepare, at least actually found a map that is relevant to this case. Let me pull that up real quick. Turn off the bells. Let me go to zoning map excerpt. So the concern, the discussion has been, so this was Marengo 31, as you remember, was originally approved as like commercial district housing at the end of 2021. And then it was also granted an extension. They have been constructing. They are sort of in the final stages of their construction. The applicants requested to do some of the units as a hotel use. It would functionally kind of be advertised seemingly as short-term rental, but using the building as constructed in that way. So staff's comments, part of why there is even an interpretation is that the planning director does have the authority to issue an interpretation regarding classification and application of land uses, and in this case, planning director interpreted the applicant's proposed use as a hotel and sort of walking through the different definitions and kind of how they tie to each other. That seemed the most appropriate. Hotel or motel is a facility, building, or group of buildings offering transient lodging accommodations to the public, and which may include additional facilities and services, such as restaurants, meeting rooms, entertainment, personal services, and recreational facilities. We also included some of the definitions, including commercial district housing development, dwelling, multifamily dwelling. The term that is a little bit flummoxing in here is vacation home rental because it's defined very clearly and then not listed anywhere as a permitted use. And so the debate has sort of been, is this a hotel because it allows transient lodging? Is it a short-term rental or vacation home rental because it offers commercial use of a residential dwelling? And in this case, staff's interpretation, because this is commercial district housing, what's up here is the three districts that allow for commercial district housing. This is CG, CH, and CP, General Commercial, Highway Commercial, and Planned Shopping Center. And to the best of my knowledge, I believe there's only been 3 things approved as commercial district housing. Marengo is actually the first one to get this far in terms of construction. The others are in the middle of either permitting or attempting to start permitting process. But Marengo 31 is here. On 31, 366 North Garfield, close to South Airport, and then the Swan View right on the southwestern edge of Boardman Lake. So, the best of my knowledge, is the only 3 that have actually used the commercial district housing development review. Yeah.
So, Steve,
Yes.
and I asked you to do this, and I appreciate it.
Mhm.
So effectively,
Yes.
the interpretation of staff is that the proposed short-term use is, in these commercial districts, is a hotel use, which is allowed.
Yes.
And then this map indicates where this decision would be, where other landowners could either take a proposed, in this case it's proposed, there are no existing commercial residential housing units other than Moranger, which is being constructed, and the other 2 which are approved but not yet constructed. So they could come forward and say, oh, we want to have short-term rental as well, in the way that this, consistent with the interpretation you provided of this other project. And then any other projects could come forward and bring in their plan to be approved with that interpretation as well, right?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
And so then, we have this interpretation. We could consider further revision of the ordinance that would address it more specifically and eliminate a need for an interpretation, right?
Correct.
But it wouldn't apply to the what's in front of us right now.
Right, we have to deal with the application that's in front of us now, but we could make that acknowledgement if we need to make any adjustments or need to study the ordinance further. Kind of 2 relevant things to that was this map was actually done a couple years ago when the state was considering legislation that would have required municipalities to allow short-term rental somewhere, and we were already thinking along the lines of, well, these districts allow hotels by right, they allow commercial district housing by special use, allow for short-term rentals in those same ones, and so kind of in between those 2. So this was already, if we were forced to move that direction. They ultimately didn't because the state bills died and they haven't been revived yet.
But in the course of our discussions, this is the map that was presented at that time to say
Yes.
this is where we could
Yep.
consider short-term rentals so that we're preempting the state's law.
Or
it's
at least
the state's
complying with the state's law and
Potential.
but then it never got enacted. So that's kind of what happened with that. And it would keep it out of the other residential districts. This also goes currently, if this interpretation is accepted, like I said, the only 3 that are currently on the books are those 3, and these are the only districts where something could be considered. Most of the other major apartments in town are either in R3 or they're in PUDs. They would not even qualify for this.
Right, okay, so it wouldn't be
Right.
extendable to other developments, okay.
Right.
So then, you've prepared the finding of fact, and then there are the 2 recommended motions. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the real point of contention from the last was the concern about the staff interpretation, right? So I think that's the thing that we need to discuss, whether we're comfortable with staff's interpretation. And then whether we want to make, in this case, and then whether any further review of this case is warranted, and then perhaps whether we want to reconsider the ordinance relative to this case, so this becomes, we could review the ordinance, revise it so that this is more clearly stated in the ordinance, or we could review the ordinance, revise it so that this is precluded from happening again. It would be part of a future process, right?
It would all be part of a future process and not have any bearing at all on what we're looking at today. So we
Right.
can finish this project, and then if you want to bring that up at a future date, to go ahead and look at it and maybe revise things, that's a different subject.
Right.
So I have a general question. For the application in front of us on Boardman Lake, are those, my understanding, those are condos as somebody would actually own them. In this application, it's an apartment building that a corporation owns, is there a differentiation between short-term rentals of a building or dwelling unit that a individual owns versus a corporation?
I don't believe in the zoning ordinance, and this even goes back to, staff also included a section of the Zoning Enabling Act. Is like, while the zoning ordinance uses owner, property owner, and ownership for regulation, there's no provision granting authority to regulate like what type of ownership structure there is.
But with a single-family ownership, I see your point, Ben. I mean, if you had a single-family home, would that be able to be interpreted as a hotel? Because in order to get the short-term rental, it has to kind of look like a duck, quack like a duck,
It
be a
has to
hotel.
fit in, yeah, it has to fit into that. It seems like it should fit into the hotel definition of the ordinance.
John?
This does, doesn't it?
I guess I was the first one, I think, to raise some concerns about this, and given not only staff's interpretation, but further thought and considering the location where this particular property is and what it's surrounded by, which is no houses.
Yeah, I think
I'm fine with this, frankly, but I do like the idea of this commission revisiting the ordinance and having a robust discussion in the future, probably sooner rather than later, about those other two parcels, one or both of which we might conclude no problem, or we might conclude big problem.
how would, if, potentially if we approve this application, how would the other ones be regulated, or are we opening up ourselves up to any not bad litigation, but are we opening ourselves up to anything that we don't want as a township? In these other two parcels or future parcels?
I think from staff's perspective, given that this one is in highway commercial, the other two are in CG general commercial. Highway commercial, all the site plans are reviewed in plan commission, but hotel motel is otherwise by right, and in CG, hotel or motel is by right. So that would have been in the CG an administrative site plan review, whereas commercial district housing was a special use permit review. So if they turned around and actually want to do a complete hotel, and by definition, it may include some amenities. It, from my understanding, is not required to include those amenities. That could have been an administrative review that never actually would have come before the planning commission. I think being careful with interpreting what is actually permitted by the zoning ordinance would be the bigger concern for like potential, like opening up to potential liability. At least from my perspective.
Yeah, I believe at least the board is concerned about a slippery slope.
Understandably so, I agree.
And I agree that this fits into the hoteling zoning use of this property. So.
I had some pretty strong reactions similar to you initially, and I really appreciated the staff interpretation and, like you said, addressing the application that is in front of us with the current parameters and not sort of what-ifing it. I still wonder, had the project come to us originally with the blend of uses, how we would have felt about that, but we are where we are now, and it probably isn't a bad idea to look at this some more. The definition of hotel may include. I did some reading on zoning ordinances from all sorts of different areas on what they define hotels as, and some have things like it must have an interior corridor or a lobby or ancillary services. Some of them may not have an on-site restaurant unless it has less than this number of units in it. So there's really, it varies depending on what that area is trying to incentivize. So I think that maybe gives us something to think about as far as future land use and residential versus hotel motel use. So I feel good about tackling that piece of it in the future. And moving forward with this one, kind of what you were saying, Molly, just put this to bed and then move on.
Okay. John?
I guess the only question I have for staff, I'm looking at the report in front of us, and it's on page 8, the very bottom of it. You made a comment about different uses might trigger different codes. The codes may be different for hotels versus apartments. And the last sentence says, a change from use group to another use group requires formal review. And I guess my question for staff is, how will the township know if such a change in use is happening or is proposed to happen, such that that would trigger the kind of review that you're mentioning should happen?
I think as it's being built out, since it's being built, it's going through like permitting or has building permits that are open. So as it's inspected, as it's gone through review by like Metro Fire in case of fire code, or our own building department in terms of the building code. As far as I know, I think it is like they're in different use groups. Like one design might be stricter than the other. So if you're in the stricter one and it also meets the less strict one, maybe that's also a disincentive to some potential property owners trying to use it as a hotel. It's like, well, if we define it as a hotel, then it has to meet everything as a hotel, not only our zoning ordinance, but the building code too. So like in one where it was designed as condos on the lake, like if they don't have the same like building code, like fire suppression that a hotel would have, you're shaking your head though.
Something that's a little wrong with this, and Ben, as an architect, maybe see what you think about what I'm going to say. But we have our use codes in terms of what we're calling it from a zoning ordinance standpoint.
Correct.
This is not going to be reviewed under the building code as a hotel. Am I correct about that?
Yes, that is, your interpretation is correct.
So it won't be a building code issue.
There is a changeover in the building code where it's about the amount of units in a building. So after, I believe, 20 units, it bumps it up to a stricter fire code, essentially. But if we get back to the Boardman application, that might be in the residential building code. So that's a lower standard than the commercial building code. The apartment buildings, I would assume, or they should have been built in the commercial building code, which requires a higher sprinkler level. So,
Which is this one? This one would be
it should be
higher, the higher standard. So.
Any more thoughts? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that finds the facts for application SUP 2021-03-A as presented in Planning Department Report 2026-49 and being made a part of this motion be adopted.
Support.
We have a motion by Robertson with support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes.
And I'll make the motion that application SUP 2021-03-A submitted by Danny Mikhail for the special use permit amendment to include a hotel use at 3275, 3281, 3293, 3321, 3333, and 3341 Mikhail Boulevard, parcel 05-021-065-00, be approved subject to the following conditions. Number one, all final reviews from the agencies with jurisdictions, including the Township Building Department and Metro Fire, shall be provided prior to any land use permits being issued.
Support.
Motion by Robertson with support by Agostinelli. Is there any further discussion?
Do we need a clarification that the motion doesn't say that we're making the recommendation to the town board like it usually says? That's what we're doing, right?
No, it's a special use permit major
Oh, all right.
amendment.
All
Yep.
right. Sorry, never
Yep.
mind.
So, yes, we're okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes.
All right. There will be some follow-up with both the applicant and Krista Good. We'll prepare the report and decision order.
Oh, yeah, I gotta
Yes.
sign it. Come in and sign that. All right.
Yeah, we'll prepare. I'll
Put that on my calendar.
hopefully tomorrow I'll send that to you, and I can send a draft to the applicant as well, so you can take a look and sign it hopefully next week.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Well, we are on to new business. Item number 7A, PD 2026-50, Chipotle Grand Traverse Mall, CP Plan Shopping Center Site Plan Review.
I had to find where I'm looking here. Okay. This is a proposed, it would be a proposed newly created outlot on what was the former Macy's site that was reviewed last year. I think even at the time, they mentioned there was a possibility of doing some outlets on that site. This is the first application we've seen for one, for a Chipotle with a drive-through. I believe it has some seating inside, but also has a drive-through pickup window, which, as they're proposing, would be pickup only, so that you would order either online or phone or on an app ahead of time and pick it up. And crucially, there would not be any exterior menu boards, so you wouldn't sit and order something. You would order ahead of time.
I was curious about that.
Yeah.
So, your typical drive-through kind of has, and I'm thinking of maybe a McDonald's. There's 3 steps. There's the order board, and then I stop at a window. Wait, I don't go to McDonald's. My wife doesn't let me. I'm not supposed to eat cheeseburgers.
Sure, you sneak over there.
So, yeah, I've heard tell
Yeah.
that there's an order board and then a pay window, and then you get your food. So like 3 steps. But you're saying this would only have 1 step? You would pay ahead of time too as well, right?
I believe it would be just one window. I've seen even some where you pay and get your order at the same window, even on some of your more typical drive-throughs, like Wendy's. I don't know if I went there that often.
Starbucks only has
Yeah.
a speaker and one window.
Yeah.
So
They also provided some. This is their branding, so I will let their branding stand on their own. But they have a kind of design and operations information that they included with this. But yeah, from I believe from the elevations, they just have the one window. Is it on this one? Yep. Okay. We do have an applicant representative as well. So we did, so in reviewing this from staff's perspective, there are the standards for a drive-through. However, one of those actually does state that these requirements shall not apply to drive-in or drive-through businesses, including restaurants, where queuing is accommodated entirely within the confines of a development exclusive of that development's access or service drives. And seeing kind of some of the other drive-throughs we've reviewed, we all remember a very particularly popular one on US 31 that had direct access to 31. This being an outlot of the mall, the kind of direct access is from the mall ring road, so it's already on a private kind of drive or driveway to start, and kind of smaller in scope than some of the other drive-throughs. This, when staff was reviewing, is as we noted, the proposed use provides the queuing of vehicles based on how it's designed, how it's going back into the site, does not necessarily impact the service drive. However, it does kind of raise a couple questions in We did also compare it to one of the other Grand Traverse Mall outlots, the one with the existing Starbucks. It has 9 stacking spaces adjacent to the building. It also goes back, so it doesn't go back into the service drive. I think this is another situation where that standard number 10, where it sort of exempts it from the other standards, because otherwise the minimum queuing is typically 12. I believe the Starbucks one predated my time, so I don't know exactly when that was done.
But you're saying that
Yeah.
the number of queuing spaces is
Yeah.
consistent with what was approved for a similar drive-through at Starbucks?
At similar outlot to the same mall.
Okay.
Yeah. It did also create the question of, and staff kind of had a draft motion addressing this if we were to go that direction, but either way as a concern was since they proposed no menu boards, and that seems crucial to their operation, was the way it's phrased in here is that a potential either condition or item of concern would be to just say no menu boards are permitted. Upon kind of additional reflection, it's, I think, more the thing to get at would not necessarily be to just blanket not permit them. It's more to say if menu boards are added to in the future, or site layout changes are proposed in the future, to re-review the site plan to ensure that the queuing is still not interfering with operations. I did do some draft language. I kind of drafted some language if we get to that point. And if we want to tweak that, I think that's certainly up for a good discussion. But otherwise, that was kind of our initial thoughts. The other administrative kind of thing, and this would be good to do after this, we were kind of just figuring out, would you do a parcel division first or this first? And it would make sense to do a site plan first in case they do need to add additional area or need to discuss that with the adjacent property owner. But at some point before like any permitting, they would actually need to create this parcel, which is an administrative function. So otherwise, applicant is here as well. Sorry, I just hit the mic. Applicant is here as well if they have anything to add.
Good evening. Jim Butler with PEA Group. Address is 1849 Pond Run, Auburn Hills, Michigan 48326. Thank you for having us this evening. As Steve had mentioned, we were here in a roundabout way with the Grand Traverse Mall with the Macy's redevelopment back in August. We're working on that project also. We're happy to be here. Chipotle is a little bit of a different animal when it comes to the drive-through process. It's a drive-up. What they do, there's an app, you call, online, you place your order, and you pay. So when you come to Chipotle, you drive up to the window, you have your phone, they scan that code, and they will hand you your food. So typically what you see, and they have a report in there, I don't know if you spent the time to review it or read it, typically you see anywhere to 2 cars is the average you see in a queue. It can go up to 4, but we're showing 7 stacking spaces. We'll never see that. You'll never see that at this type of facility because of the way Chipotle is and what product they're serving. It's so highly specialized. The orders, they're handmade from scratch, so it takes so much time for them to do that they wouldn't want to have a menu board, and the process just wouldn't work. So, have any questions about the site? Any questions? I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions or concerns for Steve or for Jim?
I had a concern similar to what Steve just addressed about maybe tweaking the language of the recommended action. To kind of parrot some of the language that's in your summary of pickup window operations that was done a couple of years ago. I based on what I'm hearing, I suspect you're going to be fine with that. Basically, just one of the restrictions would be that the Chipotle window may only be used for pickup of pre-ordered stuff. So
Yeah.
if in the future business model changes and you decide you do want to have paying customers come in there and have more windows or put up a menu board, you got to come back to the township and convince us that it can be done safely and traffic-wise. But absent you're coming back, there wouldn't be any of that stuff going on.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
And I had a question for staff.
Okay.
About the sidewalk. It's supposed to be an internal sidewalk, but it wouldn't go anywhere until the sidewalk along South Airport gets done. I get it, and I get putting off, making these guys put something that goes nowhere. What, if anything, in staff's opinion, is gonna trigger the mall owner, whether it's the current one or a future mall owner, to actually do something that requires them building that sidewalk?
That is a good question. I think we've interpreted it as thinking at like Cherryland Center. More things started happening with either like full redevelopment of some of the spaces, or because some of them have frontage and some of them don't, based on the kind of odd parcel configuration. One of them is like Curling Center. It was actually deferred until they either have more of the space redeveloped or a certain amount of time. I won't get into details of that, but that actually kind of introduced some complications to that one. Some of the other ones, I think a lot of the central ones did not have the same frontage, or as new outlots created, that was the easiest one to indicate sidewalk to be constructed. But otherwise, just like changing tenants, as long as like the site layout kind of stayed the same, just changing tenants, or like a lot of the interior work that isn't necessarily redevelopment didn't necessarily trigger it. Now if they start adding entrances, bumping out the layout, it could start triggering that sooner than later, potentially.
So somebody else is going to build a sidewalk along South Airport. This development doesn't not have that obligation.
Correct. Partly
They only
it's,
have the obligation, so the trigger would be, I think, once that sidewalk gets built along South Airport, this development would be obligated to connect a sidewalk to it.
right. Part of it is also the parcel configuration here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit.
Yeah, we don't honestly front on South Airport.
Because the ring road itself is part of the main mall. Like the owner of the main portion of the mall also owns the ring road, and it's all done through like easement and kind of partnership. But that's also kind of what's complicating this. The outlot proposed is down here, by the way. So it wouldn't actually have any parcel frontage on South Airport Road. As long as it has access to this, that's partly going to be how it can be made as a parcel in the first place, to guarantee that they have that access.
So they're not going to be required to do the sidewalk?
They'd be required to connect an internal sidewalk to a future sidewalk once that's triggered for down here.
So they can get this approval of building a sidewalk here. Dancing around my question.
Without constructing it currently, yes, potentially.
Say they build it today and install it tomorrow, and somebody else comes in, you say, where's their sidewalk?
You could tie a condition to it that, kind of with that same language,
You have a
All it
condition.
says
that
in the
actually
write-up-
is in there, that is
All it
in.
says in this write-up is that the sidewalk is deferred now.
And it's proposed as a condition, and that land use development approvals run with the land. So even if it sells, it runs with the land.
Condition number 4.
His land is not going to go to South Airport Road,
Correct.
is it? Yeah,
Correct.
It's not going to be adjacent to South Airport at all.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what kicks in that requirement? Say if somebody wants to redevelop the mall, which isn't on South Airport Road.
No, the mall is, if it's this, their parcel, because they own all of this. That's what's highlighted as the mall ownership property. So it would be redevelopment of the mall that would trigger all this.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
And that's not internal redevelopment, but external redevelopment, like expanding the mall?
Either expanding or,
Well, like,
Yeah.
there's been the recent, I mean, I've read about it in the news, but it was a staff approval for, if I recall correctly, there was the staff approval for the trampoline project over at
at Cherryland.
And
That was actually
particular-
not staff approval, that was planning
It
commission
did come
approval.
here, okay. I
That was in
forgot
June of last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so many.
Mhm.
But that triggered
Mhm.
sidewalk that was required.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't, this isn't substantive enough to trigger the sidewalk, but
Mhm.
when, it's like if if there was a trampoline facility that triggered a sidewalk, the sidewalk gets built on South Airport, and then this development is obligated to build the connector at that time.
I believe so.
Yeah.
yes.
Domino sidewalks.
Exactly.
And Domino's is right here too now, so they're right in the neighborhood.
So why didn't the reconfiguration of Macy's kick in the sidewalk?
Because Macy's
Macy's
parcel
is
is
purple.
separate from the rest of the mall. They own that separately. JCPenney owns theirs separately. The Outlet is separate, and Target was separate.
So it has to do with the frontage and the lot boundary is what I'm
Mhm.
understanding. It's like,
Yep.
it has to be
blue.
the blue parcel.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a general comment, related to sidewalks, but unrelated to this specific proposal. I wish there was a way to do cohesive sidewalking.
Yeah.
Without this significant development trigger that, I mean, I've only been on the Plan Commission less than a year and a half, and this has come up probably half a dozen times, and we always ask the same questions, and
Yep.
so I don't know if in the future study session or something, we could talk about other mechanisms for non-motorized.
That would make it more consistent or clear.
And easier.
And
facilitate
easier,
it, right?
yeah.
I've seen people walk along South Airport all the time without a sidewalk.
On both sides of this, yeah.
Not safe.
Mm-hmm. And also notably, the township does own, part of our park goes up to South Airport Road as Miller Creek. So we could be an actual potential partner in some of this as well.
John?
Just another quick question. In looking at your checklist, it looks like landscaping stuff was submitted and everything's hunky-dory, but the topic of landscaping wasn't addressed at all in the staff report. But you guys satisfied that what's being proposed is all in compliance with what needs to be proposed?
As far as I know, and we can pull up the landscaping, I want to see which, it is in here. Let me pull it up. I'm going to zoom out to see what page it's actually on.
L
Zoom back in.
1.0.
Keep going.
L 1.0.
Couple more, one more.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I think mostly the impact on the site itself. Let me just double check our own staff notes on it, but most of the impact, since it's kind of built in with design into a parking lot as an outlot, a part of a parking lot, similar to the other outlet on this mall where there's landscaping within the islands and kind of around the proposed building, is the kind of most relevant landscaping to be put in for a site like that. It says, while no new maneuvering aisles are proposed, there's alteration to the 3 existing maneuvering aisles and 4 landscape islands. So the site plan adjusts those maneuvering aisles and provides required islands. So it kind of adjusts the existing aisles and just puts back the like landscape island trees on those 3.
There's
Yeah.
limited vegetation in those islands right now. I mean, our property line, if you look kind of where the handicap symbol is, there's that dark line just above that. That's the cutoff for our property line. But obviously, we got to reconfigure the way the parking lot currently is, so we're placing those islands to the north. So those
Even,
3 islands.
even if this isn't on your parcel, it's probably the impact of what
Yeah.
this parcel going in.
And those islands aren't really in great, those vegetation's not in good shape.
And it's something we've seen on some of these. I know like every site plan that came up in Cherryland was like, here are these islands that exist and they need trees put back into them. And I've seen that even on the backside of the mall. I often bike there from my neighborhood to get to the mall trail and seeing, I was like, there needs to be some trees in these islands. The things you start noticing when you go around town. But this at least addresses it from kind of what they're proposing and the impact of putting it in on its adjacent site.
So staff is satisfied?
We feel that it's satisfactory based on that.
does this take away from any of the parking requirements of the mall?
I believe when we reviewed the Macy's site development, we like calculated theirs, and they had a pretty significant, like there was already plans to do an outlet, we just didn't have the site plan for it. They were, from my understanding, accounting for at least one outlet coming out of that and still had sufficient parking. So I didn't see, at least in this one, it may be in the file for that review, which I don't have in front of me at the moment, but calculating the kind of remaining parking spots for that. If I recall that site plan, they like highlighted where the outlet was. They just had the details of the outlet, but I think they did account for it that way. But it's a good question.
Yeah, it's in your staff comment.
It is in this. Okay.
It is. It's
All right.
on zoning ordinance standards. Section 551C parking space.
Mm-hmm.
It talks of removal. We're removing 86 parking spaces.
Okay.
We're putting back 16.
Mm-hmm.
Macy's only needed 351, and there was 500, so there's 414 after we take out the 86. So there's still in excess of parking for them. So right now, after we're done, they have 414 spaces. The ordinance, when we went in for the site plan for Macy's, only needed 351. So we're over.
Okay.
I kind of figured that would be the answer to the question.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve, did you have a recommendation for a revised item on number 2
Yes.
in the recommended action?
Okay, pull that up. I'm starting to think of just potential. No, I don't want to sign in. Well, if it will let me look at it. Move this. Let me look at it. Well, it's behind this.
So if Chipotle,
Yeah, hold on a second.
Stupid pop-ups.
if Chipotle wants to sell and a typical drive-through wants to go in there, would that also need to have a plan review or a planning commission review?
I would think that's the intent, that if the function of the drive-up changes, then there would be a new review.
Yeah,
Or
and
even
kind of the draft.
Or even a new change of use. I'm assuming a building department, a permit would be filed for a building permit if they change this. Chipotle goes out of business, somebody comes in and wants to use it. I'm assuming a building department would review the building permit and then would go down to planning and ask, hey, do they have enough parking? Do they have enough of this, enough of that, is what I would think would happen.
And it almost would kind of, even if it's a different drive-through or a different restaurant, it would almost function as a change of use if this is kind of proposed as not a typical like drive-through where it's just drive up. So the kind of the draft language that we came up with was, if any future menu, order boards, or other site layout changes are proposed, future site plan review will be required to ensure that queuing requirements and other standards of zoning ordinance are met. Just letting you kind of cover bases in case that comes up. Basically, do you need to add more space? Do you have room to actually do that?
We're all comfortable with that in this proposed language? All right. Any other thoughts, or are we getting close to being ready to maybe make a motion?
So,
Sure, Josh.
the clarification, what you've got in 2, it doesn't add to the existing 2 where it says no menu order boards are permitted. It kind of replaces that.
As proposed, it would replace that. Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember in the other language, in other permits, is it going to make reference that the township is relying on this, that, and the other thing, including the representations that there aren't going to be any menu order boards? Because if not, why don't we just add this sentence on top of the existing one that's already there into?
You could do that if that's clear that, yeah, no menu boards as part of this application.
Exactly.
Okay. Is that, our commissioner's good with that?
Just adding your statement on to the
Okay.
part that's already there.
So it's, no menu order boards are permitted.
And then your sentence would go, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that, John. That's a good idea. Leave it in there. If any are permitted, asked in the future or change, yeah.
So this exists. There we go.
I guess only other question I've got is on 4, about the sidewalk thing, in the last sentence. Required internal sidewalk will be designed and installed at the time of the sidewalk along South Airport Road. I guess I'd feel better if it said must be installed.
Then is must a legally stronger word than will?
Well,
Shall?
Shall?
I mean, it doesn't say who's gonna do it,
Right.
but
How about say it's
will be,
paid for
will
by
be
this
designed and
applicant?
installed by the,
Do we, is there any, township have any, I don't know how to word this. Is there any legal requirement from the township to require an escrow for future sidewalk connection that we don't know when it would happen?
They actually have done performance guarantees with an estimate of the sidewalk construction. If it happens at a future date, we've done that before.
I thought of that same thing.
Yeah.
Or you have other ways of making them build that sidewalk when that one in South Airport gets built?
Ways to ensure, like, from a financial perspective, and it's actually part of the zoning ordinances to do a performance guarantee that would cover the cost of it. So if it's built in the future, if they build it, they can tap into it. Sometimes it's done as like a letter of credit. Otherwise, sometimes as a bond, but that they could tap into it, or if for some reason they can't or aren't doing it, the township, in theory, could also go in and access that and kind of charge it back to them, or have access to the funds to do it. I don't know if the township's actually done that, or if that's just been a mechanism to ensure that they actually install it. But that is part of the ordinance to do a performance guarantee.
And if the township does put it in the sidewalk for them, would they pull it out on, charge it with the tax records if it's not completed in a certain amount of time? And I know these are
Yeah.
theoretical questions.
Right, yeah, I'm not sure if it would be, yeah, like a,
Never happen.
yeah, like a special assessment, or there'd be some way to claw it back. I'm not the finance person, so,
So, but as it stands right now,
Mhm.
this is just a good faith commitment on the part of Chipotle to build the connecting sidewalk when the trigger occurs, correct?
Mhm. Correct.
Unless we added a requirement that there be if we could add to the condition that there
Mhm.
also be a performance guarantee put in place.
Correct. If that is felt to be necessary, because otherwise the solution would be just to actually build that. Like, one of the other ones that we recently reviewed, it was a staff review. Actually, it was only a building thing, but it came up in the zoning, like, it was triggered based on the monetary amount that triggers the sidewalk if you have the frontage, and they did have the frontage, but it otherwise wasn't a site plan change. It was for a hotel on South Airport Road, and it was planning director and township engineer did look at, they do have the ability to defer, but not cancel a requirement, and it was sort of, this makes the most sense to do in conjunction with your neighbor, in this case Fifth Third, to do this at the same time, and then lo and behold, Fifth Third is redeveloping, and so we have discussed with them, we reminded them of that requirement that they were made aware of, and they are cooperating and doing it. There was no performance guarantee as far as I know, but they were like made aware of a requirement, and we were able to lean back on that. Even a couple years down the road. Yeah.
So it really comes down to whether the planning commission is satisfied that this language is sufficient and that the applicant will build the sidewalk connector in the future, or whether we feel like we need to have some kind of guarantee in place.
With the staff's persistence on reminding other owners of buildings, I feel like this is satisfactory.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's my opinion, so.
Okay.
It doesn't strike me as a particularly costly bit of sidewalk,
Mhm.
significant obligation for them to perform on.
Yeah. Okay. Is everybody else?
Any other thoughts or concerns?
Mhm.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that application SPR 2026-06 submitted by PEA Group to construct a restaurant with pickup window on a new parcel to be created out of parcel 05-021-015-20 be adopted, subject to following conditions 1 through 7, with changes to number 2 as specified at the meeting.
All right.
Support.
We have a motion by Agustinelli with support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, do I need to include the PD 2026-50? That last sentence, 1 through 7 as indicated in PD 2026-50?
That's supported also.
With changes to two as
Yeah.
this described in the meeting. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. I'm curious, we were talking about the language of item 4. This required internal sidewalk will be designed and installed. There was some discussion about changing that to must or shall. Where did we land on that?
I don't think we changed it.
Will works.
Will works?
Are you
Okay.
are you good with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you guys got to make sure it happens.
All right.
Okay. So, any further
Shall.
discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
We'll follow up with the applicant as well on this. So.
We are on to our last item of new business, item B, PD 2026-51, High Tops Cherryland Center Sound Study Update. Take it away, Steve.
Catch my breath for a second. Also, where does this start? That's still in Chipotle's. There we go. This one is actually going to function mostly as an update. This was the High Tops in the Cherryland Center that was approved with conditions back in December. And part of these, there are kind of more extensive conditions than a lot, since this is a quite different use than is normally proposed. That involves a lot of sound studies. The kind of long story short is ABD is the township. Township is paying for ABD to do a peer review of the applicant's acoustical impact done by Robert Anderson. So two sound engineers kind of talking to each other, and ABD gave the updated report. It sounds like kind of the main concern is has to do with the actual roof design. So there were some of the other aspects which were either addressed or have some of those design elements put in, but the roof needs some additional work with it. There hasn't been any construction yet, and also just before this meeting, the applicant happened to stop by the office. He indicated he had a prior commitment to this meeting, so he was unable to attend, but updated him on what our letter was indicating, and it basically sounds like this information he is going to relay back to his sound engineer team and address the issues with the roof. And that's sort of like balls in their court at this point. So I think the only thing we had pretty much was that specifications of the plan to improve roof assembly. We actually put it as a motion, although it really just continues tabling it. I even after this kind of thought, is there a motion necessary if it's mostly an update? But that's kind of where this one is at. There is a summary I guess not the summary, it's the acoustical report from the applicants group without all of the appendices, but at least the summary and the meat of the report is provided as an attachment.
Anyone have any thoughts?
So when I was reading through this, I read through the section of our ordinance that they included on page 5.
Mm-hmm.
And our ordinance doesn't give a decimal amount. It essentially says at any time at a volume unnecessary for convenient listening of the person or persons in the room. It's very unclear in our ordinance about the sound standards. So
Say that again, which part of our section of the noise ordinance? I'm looking on page 5, but yeah.
Yeah, it's on, it's their point B.
Okay.
3B or 4B?
4B?
4B.
Okay.
There's just a lot of interpretation between our ordinance and what an applicant might say is
Mm-hmm.
conversation versus
Mm-hmm.
be nice if this part of our ordinance was more specific,
Mhm.
a decimal bounds, because I looked up a decimal chart and normal conversation was around 50 decibels according to the chart I was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And some of their charts had over 58,
Mhm.
51, 52, 55. So I may not consider that meeting our sound ordinance, but somebody else may say that meets our sound ordinance just in interpretation of this code. That's my main comment
Okay.
about it. Just clarity on our ordinance.
So in terms of what the recommendation though is, Steve, our consultant said that the applicant's consultant indicated that there was a need to enhance the soundproofing of the ceiling, of the roof,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, and that's, we also include the email that ABD, gentleman's name is Quincy Smale. I did not speak directly with him, but his email indicates, yeah, most of the comments were editorial, but there was important comments regarding the roof assembly, and it's part of their modeling.
And so they're saying, give us the design of the roof assembly that you're going to do that's going to,
Yeah.
manage the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So all this, as a planning commission, we're just acknowledging,
Yeah.
hey, this is continuing to be, basically, we're retabling it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good idea to have a motion to say we're tabling it, because it has been a while since we've considered, based on your calendar, the last time that we tabled it, or took any action was all the way back in December. So, what is that, 4 months ago?
Yeah.
Right, am I doing the math right?
And as part of it, I guess as the motion, since it's mostly an update, however, this is also one of those where the actual condition itself that is relevant is prior to issuance of C of O, the amended acoustical impact assessment shall be reviewed by ABD Engineering with results and any further recommendations reported back to Plan Commission for approval. So at least as of this, it's just an update, but if they give that roof assembly information and there are recommendations that do come back, that would need to have a motion at that point. So we did at least hear back from ABD, and at least they need more information before making that recommendation, if there's any recommendations to be made.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody other questions or thoughts, or shall So do you want a motion, Steve, or?
I think describing that, and since there will eventually be follow-up based on that condition 11 from their original approval, there is still follow-up to it.
Okay.
I think it makes sense to do a motion.
Would anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that application for the approved bar, restaurant, and nightclub on parcel 05-014-049-08, located at 1776 South Garfield Avenue, SPR-2025-06, provide specifications on the planned improved roof assembly to the township for review and feedback by ABD Engineering and Design.
Support.
Motion by Robertson, support by Agustinelli. Is there any further discussion? I actually have a discussion question, and forgive me. So the way this is worded, it says, motion that the application for the approved, this is not approved yet, is it?
In December, it was approved.
It was
and that,
approved.
That condition 11 was part of the
Okay.
conditions of approval.
Sorry, and
Yep.
we discussed that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Understood.
Yeah. No, it took me a second to figure that, oh, that's why the motion is in here, is because it's a follow-up to an approved thing, but that there is included follow-up as part of the conditions of that approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do have a motion by Robertson with support by Agustinelli. Anybody else have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes.
Yep.
All right. So, that was our last item of new business. We have another opportunity for public comment. If anybody would like to step up, state your name, address, and please be heard.
My name is Brian Hands, again, for the 1056 Hemingway. I want to say thank you to all the board members, especially to Steve. He helped me and my wife out get some of our questions answered, and all the questions that you guys asked of the developer. We as a group from Hemingway look forward to dealing with them and the future project going on. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Anyone else?
All right.
My name is Evan Remy. You say your address, sorry. 1705 Woodward Avenue. I'm not very prepared for this, but with the high tops at the Cherryland Center as a resident, I just kind of had some concerns about that. Like, is it possible I could, like, maybe see any building plans on that? Because, like, I live right behind that, and if, you know, we already have a lot of problems with people coming through that parking lot, like recklessly driving or speeding, and like just a lot of like loud sounds back there. You can hear it like all the time, and that would obviously add, I feel, some traffic, maybe reckless driving, or people like intoxicated wandering through the area. So I just thought there were maybe some concerns on that.
Okay.
Thank you for
Just
your
come
comment.
to staff, and they'll show you all the documents that you want to see.
Yep. And Evan, in fact, our packets that we receive with all the documents, so the packets that we have right here, those are available on the township website, as well as all previous packets and minutes from previous meetings. So those plans would be available for you to look at online. And staff might be able to help you identify specifically which meetings that was in, or you can go through and search meeting by meeting as well.
All right, thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks for your comment. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close public comment at this point. We don't have any other business on the agenda. Steve, items for our next agenda. That'll be April 22nd.
Yep, so this will be our study session, and I'll be preparing a packet next week for this one. I think to kind of keep a shorter agenda and also shorter packet, which might be beneficial for staff at this time. I think we did have some of the zoning amendments. Some were a little bit further along than others. This might be actually a good time to ones that we've already done a lot of work on to kind of either wrap up. They could actually function as an intro. And based on the timeline, we do have the extra week. If we could wrap those up as an actual intro, they could be introduced for public hearing for the May meeting. in time, which could be something beneficial. And we can keep having any, like, either just discussion items as needed. But I think if we kind of do focus on the ones that are furthest along, I think mobile food vending was pretty far along, and mixed-use suburban as sort of the next district, because it builds off of the mixed-use neighborhood, might be the two that are furthest. I will also say it sounds like Township Board and or at least the manager and supervisor, they're interested in potentially doing the moratorium. They were asking Township Legal Counsel. I don't know exactly where that is at this moment, but
Data centers.
for data centers. It sounds like also coming from legal counsel, though, is some advice on potentially updating the zoning ordinance to address like how to do moratoriums. It's not actually in the Zoning Enabling Act. It's been relied on case law for townships to actually do moratoria. It could be something as just sort of adding it to the administrative section of the zoning ordinance and putting like some purpose statements behind it. Like, we acknowledge that new uses emerge that may have detrimental effects on the health, safety, and welfare of the township. Something like broad like that, but actually gives criteria for how to do that. So that could be part of it. And so we need to do a moratoria to write how do we do moratoria. So that could be part of it as well. But it sounds like they are at least investigating doing that.
Well, I would encourage you,
Yes.
as far as our next agenda, you've cited several things that are effectively, well along the way, some low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
And I expect that as you'll be managing in John's absence, don't feel obligated to put your foot on the gas with anything that we can defer to later in the summer.
And I think at least, completing the ones that are furthest along, we can always do discussion, even if there's not a lot of packet material. We can always bring something to the meeting to have a discussion. That's certainly feasible too. I do also want to give a shout out to, since we're near the end of the meeting, I also want to thank all of the Plan Commission, Chris especially for, it was helpful to do a summary of the meeting yesterday and just kind of walk through doing this as the only staff here for this meeting. And then I also want to shout out to the rest of the staff at Township Hall, especially our admin team, Karen Laver, Kathleen Roon, Jamie Groh, and Township Manager Chris Barship. Really, everyone has been helpful. Like, we are all a team. When people are out, we can always help each other, and we certainly will do that. And we can pass on more information on John and his family when we get that. So,
good to hear.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. John?
I would just like to ask that you get added to the list, and I know we got a long list, but
Mhm.
the stuff we talked about this evening about maybe revisiting this hotel
Mhm.
apartment usage question in the CG and other places.
Yep.
It's not burning a hole in anybody right now, but it would be a shame if somebody that's got one of those two properties comes with an application before we do any discussion about
Mm-hmm.
do we want to tweak that or not, so.
Yep. I think someone mentioned they found some potential ways that was addressed in this. Did you mention that there were other communities that had defined some of these things a little bit differently?
I kind of just searched on Google
You just
for
Googled it? Okay.
zoning,
Yeah.
hotel, apartment combination, stuff like that.
Oh, okay,
And then
yeah.
just looked at a variety of things.
Yeah. Did you have a particular one that stood out, or okay? I'll do some.
Gamut.
I'll do some basic Googling to get started on that one. Yeah. All right.
All right, are we adjourned?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
We are now.
All right, very good. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, everyone.